Hi.
Hey, how are you guys?
Yeah, good.
Good, thank you.
Um, to start, I just want to say I'm going to ask you a very accurate-based question, but I feel like it is the most obvious of questions to ask in this case. This show is so dependent on mixtapes, and music is a part of a lot of actors' process. Did either of you make a playlist or a mixtape for this? And if so, what is one song that you were like, this is 100% what Daniel would be listening to?
Right, yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Do you want to go, Rory, or do you want me to go?
Go ahead, mate. Go ahead.
I always feel like, age before beauty, man.
Sure. Do you know what? Yeah, I definitely did create a playlist. I've got like 80 songs on there, and it was kind of like the kind of ones that pop up in the similar section. It was just all the 80s. I was just going bang, 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 bang. Yeah, that would work. That would work. And as for song, I really like the Nick Drake stuff for Dan.
Mm.
I thought that was great. Road was one that I was listening to a lot. And then I also think that Stephanie says I think that Dan likes his kind of quiet, peaceful, lovey songs as well. So yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, he makes out he's into the hard stuff, but really, he likes a ballad. He likes a love ballad.
100%.
I agree. I mean, I'm like that. Yeah, we made a lot of mixtapes. Me and Lucy, in particular, the director, we shared a lot of music with each other, and we're constantly sort of sending each other Spotify playlists, and um, I think I made Rory a mixtape actually, and then I made him. But this is a, it's a. I made him this mixtape, and I explained to him like who all these bands were, and I sent it to this email that I had for Rory, and it turned out that the music supervisor in the show was also called Rory, who's like a wealth of knowledge of all music you could possibly imagine. And there's me going, "This is a band from the 1980s that you might enjoy." Like. And yeah, so I don't think you ever got it, did you, Rory? I'm not sure.
Never did
Yeah.
get it.
But I sent him a load of stuff. It was all stuff that I listened to when I was his age, when I was sort of 17. And I was mad into all the music from the sort of north of England, from Manchester specifically. Um, there was a big scene in the sort of late 80s, early 90s that I was very kind of connected to when I was growing up, even though it wasn't necessarily my era. It was what I loved when I was sort of 17, 18. And that was, I mean, the band that would come to mind would be the Stone Roses, which are one of the greatest bands of all time ever, in my opinion. Amazingly, the show starts off with a Stone Roses track. So the minute I heard that, I was like, okay, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be fine. So yeah, it's a track called "Fool's Gold" by the Stone Roses that made it onto the opening of the song of the whole show. So yeah, I mean, it was hard doing the music because everybody has their own version of what makes what everyone's connected to music in a very different way. And
Mhm.
so, I'm quite proud that we managed to sort of navigate that and get everybody's tastes and everybody's feelings and what they felt connected to and sort of make something that felt kind of cohesive and felt, it belonged to the characters.
Yeah, as someone who my friends say I listen to my sad girl music, I really did love hearing Nick Drake playing
Yeah.
in a show. I was like, yeah, I did it. This is like I waited for days like this. But I have to ask because it is so interesting because Jim, what kind of put you on the map was you playing quote unquote a younger version. Like people were like, you look like Paul McCartney. Now to have someone like Rory play a younger version of a character, how is it for you as an actor to be like, yeah, I've come kind of full circle. Like now someone is playing the younger version of me in a
Yeah,
show
it was
that
mad.
is
It
like
was
that
trippy,
split.
man. It was mad to sort of, and Rory's taller than I am. Do you know what I mean? So that was even more crazy.
Not to be that person, but I did clock that. I was like, it's really tall.
Yeah. I was like,
Oh,
all
you
right,
could
well,
notice
I'm
that.
at this stage in my life, man, where, yeah, but we were talking about this earlier, but I was really fortunate enough to sort of be involved in sort of looking at the casting tapes for the younger version of my character. So it was really nice that it wasn't just put upon me. I sort of felt included in sort of making that decision, and I sort of saw things in Rory that I saw in myself, and that I wanted and hoped for the character. I saw it in his audition piece. And it's kind of mad, especially when like you're sort of seeing younger versions of yourself, and they're not sort of 6 years old or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I am that old that a younger version of me would be, you know. It was fun. It was fun. It was really fun, and it was amazing. It was Rory's first ever acting job, you know, and that was just too brilliant to sort of just be involved in knowing that he was having his very first experience of being on a film set and being a part of a production like that. So it was cool. It was really great.
Roy, you do such a good job because I didn't know that it was your first uh
It's
film experience.
Great, love to
But
hear it.
I wanted to ask you, on the flip side of that, when obviously you were cast after Jim and you're playing the younger version of this character, how much do you look at what he's doing or talk about what he's doing versus like focusing on your own journey as Daniel and where he is in your storyline?
Yeah, I mean, like as soon as I got the role, really, and when I knew Jim had it, I asked Lucy Gaffey, the director, to kind of see, because Jim, you were in Australia when I got cast. I think you already started filming.
Yeah, we started. Yeah.
So yeah, so I asked Lucy just to see. I was kind of I wanted to get the kind of movement characteristic stuff down. That's where I wanted to start with it. But then I got an opportunity to see Jim in Ireland anyway, filming a scene, and it was kind of funny because we move is strangely in a similar way. So I mean, it was yeah, in that sense, it was fine, and kind of navigating my younger storyline. It it really it was I was just lucky that we are kind of similar, and um yeah,
Rory
it
did a
kind of
beautiful
worked.
thing that I saw when I watched the show. I've seen bits of it. And me and Lucy, the director, talked a lot about Daniel having sort of anxiety issues and sort of, you know,
Mm.
hidden, sort of trapped sort of anxiety problems that he doesn't necessarily show to the rest of the world. And there was a beautiful, which I didn't know that Rory had done, but he did a very similar sort of thing with his sort of with his chest, sort of, and I was like, oh, he I don't know if that was a fluke or whether he sort of picked that up from what I had been doing previously, but it was really nice to sort of connect that very private moment that the characters have for themselves, you know what I mean? And Rory had picked up on that and he'd used it in his own performance, and I was like, oh, nice, brilliant, wicked. I was really pleased.
I can't remember if I think I did. I think I did. I saw a bit of an anxious scene, and yeah, I think I did. I do remember watching that. God, I wish I just did it on purpose now. I look better.
You're like, I clocked it and I
Yeah,
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 used
you
it for
clocked
my
it.
benefit.
that was my thing.
He wrote it in his notebook. He was like, right, note to self.
Playing, right? This is what I
Yeah,
gotta do.
Yeah.
Well, I do
absolutely.
love you can track this character's kind of growth, especially with technology, with music, in such an interesting way because Rory's version of Daniel is listening to a Walkman with the like bright orange headphones that were like very prominent in like the 80s. And then we see older Daniel walk out of a record store with a record, which I was like, I'm a record girl, so it's like I get it, but it is like, all right, yeah, it's a little outdated and we all still love that feel. Is it fun for you guys now to watch the completed show or to like to see things and notice things like that where Daniel, the way Daniel listened to music as a kid is kind of still part of who he is as the older version of Daniel?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and it was, you know, just record shopping as a kid was so huge for me and so huge for Daniel in the show, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that never goes away, does it? You know, if you're a record collector and you love music and you're a fan of music, you know, that doesn't disappear. You know, the technology around it can all change, but you know, I'm so pleased that in this day and age of technology, you know, vinyl collecting is still a thing. You know, people still want to hold it and own it and love it and cherish it and, you know, have the act of actually putting it on a turntable and have to sort of have to work a little bit to hear the song. You don't click a button and it's all just there in your head. It's like there's a bit of ownership to it because it's yours and you know. So that was nice that that sort of played in for both of it, and really interesting to watch the sort of 80s stuff and go, of course, they didn't have phones, they didn't have this intrusive technology
It's
that is sort of messing up everybody's relationships, really. You know, the technology did become a big character in the present day sort of stuff. It was always the third
mm-hmm.
other in the room. You know, both Daniel and Alison are quite often on their phones. You know,
Yeah.
sneakily sending each other text messages and stuff. Yeah. And it does open up questions about sort of, you know, what is it to be connected to somebody else? Who's down there? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And what are you saying to those people? And in Daniel and Alison's case, you know, they are having a sort of somewhat of a relationship and an affair and a reconnecting of their
Yeah.
youth through the phone. So technology is a huge part, and they wouldn't have met up. They wouldn't have even had the opportunity to reach out to each other from opposite sides of the world without, you know, Facebook and, you know, all that. So yeah, it was interesting, really interesting.
Yeah. Well, before I leave, I just want to say, Jim, I think about your movies a lot because I bike around New York City. So I'm always like, I don't want to end up like one day. But I have to tell you, thank you, because I have a tattoo of Beatles lyrics. Like the Beatles and my dad were like we were very connected over their
Oh,
music.
amazing.
And to the day he died, he wanted me to watch Yesterday. And I was like, no, I will always watch Across the Universe with you. I'm not watching Yesterday. And him and I like would watch that movie over and over again with each other. So it really means a lot talking to you about
Oh,
it.
that's brilliant. I love that. Thank you so much. Oh, that's brilliant.
All right.
It's going to be 20
Thank you guys.
years next year, I think.
I know
20 years
I
the movie
feel
came out.
I that feels fake.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for talking to me and I can't wait for everyone to get to see the show. I loved it a lot.
All right. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
You have a great one.